Hello. Um, I'm not sure who my viewers are, so I don't know what to call you. But if you're here, if you like my content, you're probably, you're like me. Um, I showed, I think it was in my first video. It's a vinyl cover, and it's a vinyl cover for the '90s rock band. It's their album. Maybe you've been brainwashed too. New Radical. So I've always considered myself a New Radical. So hello, if you're here. Hello. Hello, New Radicals. Um, so I'd like to talk to you today about how I learned to face kind of my ego. And I was having this conversation on the internet because kind of the only reason why I'm doing these videos is because I went to the DMV and they like turned me down again because I didn't have the right paperwork. Pennsylvania has like it's weird. But also like this, I don't know, the sun is like nice today. But anyways, yeah, so I really just so I was reading a comment and it was basically saying that it said a lot of things, but 2 points being one, which is that the sort of you can almost think of the ego as like a psychic entity that is like I guess you can say outside of you or inside of you, but there he kind of had this theory that it's like outside of you and that it's like it operates on with its own like alien level of intelligence, and I guess to us it's alien, but it's like unconscious, right? And some people like they kind of we say like NPCs like they usually like they have no soul, but it's like they do. Like we all have souls, we're all God's creatures, but some people kind of lose their souls, I think, because they let their ego operate like everything. Like I guess the simplest way to just they don't work from like the heart space or like it's all just mental, right? Um, so the the basically like the unconscious elements of us, if we if we operate that kind of exclusively, there's certain parallels to people who are like more psychologically, psychopaths or whatever, if they just operate purely on pure ego. And I'll get into that for another video maybe. I'm really just bored. I wanted to do a hobby today that I don't know. I'm doing a YouTube video. So here's here's the story. And here's kind of how it relates to that this psychic entity outside of you. I was um I was in one of my I was this was the last one of the previous about a year ago. I was in it was like a halfway house. It was a sober house. And I wasn't on drugs, right? I hadn't been on drugs for like a year, dude. And I'm totally stone cold sober, but I kind of started like I guess I started believing that I'm psychic or something. I started believing that like I just started believing in my own power. I was listening to these like tarot videos, and I still do actually listen to them now, but with a more like rounded approach. Like I look at it more as archetypal, it's symbolism, certain patterns in the world that explain, because I think we're all going through our own hero's journey. We're all myths in our own legend, right? But at the time, I was viewing it in a very kind of unstable way, I think, in a very cosmic way, which probably, I guess, my ego didn't like. So I genuinely believed that there was like, so there's this dead celebrity, right? And from the 80s, this Adam Yelch, I think, he was one of the Beastie Boys. And I like genuinely believed that he was like physically, like, I thought that he was like here, like, th- not here, but back then in the halfway house. Like, I believed that he was like around me and that he was like giving me, because he was like a philanthropist too, actually, in his later years before he died. Like he was a very like he was totally an empath. He was totally he followed like the Buddhist lifestyle kind of, from memory, from what I believe. And I would just listen to his, not his. I'd listen to the Beastie Boys. I once, like, if you're in a sober house, like eventually, like the longer you live there, everyone just kind of gets in their own routines, and it's almost like living with a bunch of your siblings. Um, but at the same time, like like you're all dealing with trauma and stuff like that, and I think it's hard to be like vulnerable. So I was kind of being like I was doing like shadow work basically. And for me, it was like imagining that, Adam Yelch was there and that he was providing me guidance and love and support and stuff like that. Because for some reason, like I felt like his soul was just speaking to me. When I started, I was just looking at all these Beastie Boys videos. I love their sound, I love their vibe. Um, but anyways, yeah, so that was that. Just listening to all these Beastie Boys videos, and I was like going to AA meetings, and I was like fucked up on my own consciousness. Like it's sort of like Salvador Dali. Um, for some reason, I don't know. There's this painting, or not the if you can see, I think I just showed you a Beatles. That's the Abbey Road poster. I don't know why I felt the need to show you guys that, but yeah. So, anyways, now I lost track of what I was saying. The problem with ADHD. Um, and I don't want to stop this video. Because I'm bad at editing. Anyways, yeah, I was like fucked up in my own consciousness. And Salvador Dali says he was like, "Oh, I don't do drugs. I am drugs." So I was like on drugs, but I wasn't on drugs. And I was like, I remember showing up at this one meeting, and it just like weird shit, like all this, and I just all these weird, almost like synchronicities were happening, and it was like I was overloaded in my brain with all these symbols and I prescribe meaning to like everything, dude. Like I see an ant, I'm like meaning. I know what it means. I know how it relates to everything. I can see there's like a quote too, and I think some form it's an Eastern philosophy or kind of religious quote. Maybe Tibetan, I don't know, but it says like if you can see the entire universe in a grain of grass, then you're like enlightened. I think, yeah, it's cool. Um, so anyways, yeah, just all these weird. I was just bombarded by like all. I was just bombarded by the meaning of life, and I didn't realize that like I was doing shadow work, but I guess I kind of was. I thought I was like healing myself, but I was also like I don't think I was being like authentically, like I was trying to just vibe high because I genuinely believe that when I was um, speaking or when Adam Yelch was in the room with me, I'm sure his consciousness is busy elsewhere, right? but but yeah, I believe that, and then all these other celebrities who I like, musicians and actors and activists and political actors, like all these people, a lot of people from the 20th century, including like Ian Curtis, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain. Like I would just listen to their music, dude. Like, and I felt like their presence with me. It was crazy. Um, it's crazy. But yeah, on this particular day, it was like a Beastie Boys day. I was looking at, and again, like I felt them as angels, presences around me, part of this like temple inside my mind that I could visualize. That took place in like Egypt, like ancient Egypt, kind of. It's pretty cool. It was like that Kanye West music video, Power. If you see that, it was kind of like that, but with all these dead celebrities. um, and yeah, I think I was like trying to heal my inner child. And yeah, it was a Beastie Boys day. I was listening to uh God, what is the song? Fight for Your Right to Party. It's the one where at the end of the video, there's like this guy in an ape costume. Or not an ape. He literally is just wearing an ape mask and he starts playing the electric guitar. And No Sleep Till Brooklyn. That's the one. Anyways, it was just like a funny little thing. I was like, oh, it was just, I realized it was like one of my favorite music videos of theirs, actually. Um, I just thought I liked it. I like the vibe that they have. It's really cool. Um, they're punk spiritualist for sure. But yeah, I'll get to the point, which is that I think that seed kind of stuck in with me. And eventually, like maybe an hour or so later, like I was just listening to music. That was my coping skill. Like I would listen to music. Like even one of the staff at the house, they were like, they literally took my headphone out. They're like, "Can you just leave one headphone in and one out so people can like, you know, so you can be present or people can talk to you or something." Yeah. Anyways, I was alone, weirdly enough, because usually there was at least it would be weird to be alone in this house because literally when I showed up and it filtered in between, like at one point there was like maybe only 7 people living there, but when I showed up there was like, I don't know, there was like 50 people there or something. Like that when we had our staff meetings in the living room, it was like crowded, dude. I was like, get me out of here. Um, but anyways, da 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 da. It was, yeah. It was like empty. It was dark. This was during like the winter too. It was cold, and I was doing my shadow work or my inner child work or whatever. I was just high fly. I was high fly because these psychic, spiritual, quasi like these creative connections, that this imagery, these crazy visuals I was seeing, I felt like I was beamed off to another dimension, being surrounded by like angels and deities and faces of people whose, their souls spoke to me or whatever. It's hard to describe, but I felt like they were all around me, and then suddenly, like I saw in my mind's eye something that started to like imagine me instead of me imagining it. It was kind of like imagination reversed backwards, and it it definitely scared the bejesus out of me because suddenly I was looking into, and I did like a crystal ball. I did like a guided meditation. It was like this weird hypnosis thing, and it was like I think a crystal ball was involved. So I think again, my brain is just using symbols. So suddenly, what's something's imagining me, right? And that's usually a sign of, I guess, schizophrenia. I don't know, dude. Again, shamanism, schizoid thinking. I've talked about it. The way they, and also like bipolar stuff. Like it all just kind of syncs together in the way the brain kind of operates psychologically. But anyways, I see this crystal ball, and then there's like this man inside of it, and he's in this ape costume. But it's not a costume. Like he's actually this ape creature, and he winks at me. I call it the devil wink because so he winks at me, right? Like I'm kind of like I'm looking in. I'm closing. It's like the camera, going in closer, and because I see like light in his eyes or something, but it was like a false light. I didn't know at the time, so I was kind of like letting my mind's eye zoom in closer, and then suddenly I was like, I want to see what's behind. Like I just want to see. Sometimes you just want to see what's behind someone's eyes. You want them to speak or something. I was waiting for that, and he didn't speak to me. Thank God, because then I really probably would have shit my pants. But yeah. So again, I think this is like my ego, right? Just on like a extraterrestrial plane level, or like I'm open to interpretations, but just from like an ET entity, otherworldly cosmic form. Like it could be something just totally inside of me, and it's all, you know, it's not that, it's not so cosmic, but it felt cosmic because he winked at me, and then suddenly it was like I was being transported through his eye, and all the light became false, and the light became like these frosted vines that wrapped around me, but they felt like they had some weird energy to like the void, like, but it's like not even the void. You know how Frederick Nietzsche says that when you stare into the abyss stares back. Um, it was a lot like that. It was like those jihadist visions that Paul Atreides gets in Dune, and he's so like he like it's one of those things. Like it felt like the universe in its most raw, unfiltered form. And there it was like the veil kind of almost completely shattered, and it was just like it was like me. It was like I was staring at my ego. I was staring at my ego back in the face, and I'd never seen it so it felt like pure meaninglessness. And keep in mind, like, I don't feel, I'm the sort of person who I see me, like, I'm just a very, I love life. I'm happy go lucky most of the time, you know? And like I said, it winked at me and it was like I was transported into the shadow realm or something. And the vines wrapping around me. But like I said, it wasn't vines, it was just this energy portal thing. And I was like, oh fuck, I should not have, like, I should have closed my eyes. I should not have, you know? And it was just this, it was like I could feel, because it was a visual, but it was like I was making it link a psychic connection with the the void. There's a quote from Lord of the Rings where Sauron sees Frodo and he says, "There's no meaning in the void. There's no life in the void." And that was exactly. I felt like I wasn't even in my body anymore. Um, it was it was like I felt the pain of millions of people, the loneliness, the despair, the cruelty of existence. It was like I could feel thousands and thousands of, pretty much every single person I'd ever met. It was like all of their pain and pure. It was like pure destruction. Not destruction, depression. It was like I could feel thousands, and at the time it felt like millions of people's. And I've been in psych wards before, um, but yeah, I mean, it was like I could feel it all in my body at once, and it was like that. It was like, have you ever seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? She's everywhere, you know. Spoiler alert: at the end of the movie, she goes everywhere. But it wasn't like one reality's kind of good, one reality's goofy, one reality is fucking crazy, one reality is weird. It was like, no, every single reality I was feeling was fucking nihilistic. It was fucking dark, and not in the sense of the word. I could feel it, not just textbook definition wise. And it was like suddenly there was only 4 or 5 of my roommates who were up, and I felt bad because I wanted comfort, but at the same time I almost felt like my aura was fucking fried, dude, at that point. And it was like my aura was frosted. It was cold to the bone. I felt like a sociopath walking into the room, and I felt like based on observation, based on the eye contact I was making with some of my roommates, who, it was like they seemed to notice that something was fucking wrong. The same way, like if the Grim Reaper just showed up at your house, or like if someone who was in charge of your destiny was like, yeah, dude, you're gonna have 10 years of hell on this earth before you figure out your shit. Like it was like that bad omen thing. And I felt bad. I really just wanted comfort, but I don't think I could tell. I couldn't tell him what happened. It was too crazy. And I forgot to mention that before this, I was, like I said, I was imagining all these angels around me. It was a beautiful thing. And then suddenly it was like, if you've seen the ending to Mulholland Drive, not a spoiler, but if you've seen it, you got the visual in your head, right? It was like that exact same moment where suddenly all these angels and deities and beautiful things around me just transformed, and it was like the world turned black and white, and it was like staticky and surreal, and then that actually happened before the devil wink from this, the I call him the stoned ape. um and I'm not explaining the full story, right? But this actually happened. So I ended up. This was like before my cousin's visit on Thanksgiving, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, and I would remember in my something else kind of sent me over the edge. It wasn't anything cosmic. It was actually human drama. But then I was like, wait a second. Remember when the stoned ape thing happened in your sober house? And I remember I was like almost screaming to God on my bed suddenly because I was crying about something else. But then I was like, why am I crying about human shit? What about that thing that happened to me? Like, what the actual fuck was that? I was like screaming to God. I was like, what the actual fuck even was that? Like, it felt like I was in some sort of like. I just remember saying, like, why the fuck would you send something like that to me? Why the fuck would you torment a mortal, like, child of, we're all children of God? Like, why would you torment, like, a innocent earth person with that insane imagery? Like, it was like I was a cosmonaut, truly. Anyways, I think you kind of answered my question eventually because I had kind of like another vision. I wasn't really. I had like another vision of the Stoned Ape dude, and I was like, I could feel it coming on. I was like, fuck this, fuck that. Like I am, you know, they're gonna have to take me in a stretcher, dude. I cannot witness this again. It's too much pain. Pain on a very it felt like a cosmic joke. The way, if you know Evil Dead, like the Deadites, like they're laughing at people. It was like the universe. I felt like he was laughing at me, and I was like, dude, that's not fucking fair, you know. And I yeah, so I saw it again, but I didn't see the same thing. I actually didn't see his face or anything, but I could feel like his presence or something, or my ego's presence, whatever it is, right? Because that the ego thing is just really a theory. Um, And I told my cousins this, and they were like, "Do you think that maybe it's inside you, or I don't know? I don't know, dude. But I do believe in Carl Jung, like integrating things, but in a correct way, in a grounded approach. Um, so yeah, final end of the story. Um, I felt the presence. I felt the cold presence. Not sure if anyone's parents used to listen or watch like those paranormal TV shows, those stupid, like the stuff that South Park would make fun of. Did. Anyways, I felt the if a presence were to be there, yeah, I would know if I felt, Anyways, instead of the whole devil wink or whatever and the mask and whatever, instead it was like these beams of orange light, but I knew they were like his eyes started appearing, like glowing in the dark, the way you'd see, like Homelander if he appeared in the dark. It was like about to laser beam you. And I was like, fuck, dude. Like, my jaw clenched and I flinched and I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. And then suddenly it was like, it was like another ego death, dude. Because I was like, you know what? I've been through some shit on this earth. Human drama shit, right? I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. This is this is the last goddamn straw. I've always considered myself a pretty gentle, easygoing person. And I think I've gotten a lot of shit for it just by being my authentic self. And I was like, you know what? Now you're gonna fuck with me, you fucking the cosmic deity, dude. It was like that song from Thriller where it was like, da-na, da-na-na. And he thinks there's that line where like you think that the sun isn't gonna, there's a line from that song that it's I'm paraphrasing, but you think that the sun, you're not gonna see the sun again because it's so dark. And I was like, fuck you. And this all happened in my head, obviously. Um, but I, it was like suddenly, like I did the same thing before he could attack me, before his eyes could, or he could do whatever he was gonna do. Suddenly, it was like I just closed my mind, I shut it, and I felt like this pulse of orange energy erupt out of my eyes and just shoot to kill, dude. And I just pushed all that energy away, but not in like a. I eventually came to learn that like I need to set my own boundaries and not in like a I'm running away from this, more in like I remember I started listening to Not Afraid by Eminem like directly after that because I needed some courage, dude. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it was teaching maybe my ego or whoever the Stone Day was teaching me like I need to stand up. I need to fight for something. I'm looking for there's a quote from a book that actually talks about this on the first page, but whatever. I need to stand up for something. What the hell do I even stand for? How am I going to find my courage? How am I going to not be afraid? And I realized I had to stand up for something and I guess I had to stand up for myself, but I also had to stand up for the things I believed in. And I believe in a lot of good and beautiful and wonderful things. And I value like not the rotten fruit on earth. Um, I value the fresh fruit, the people with like light in their eyes and stuff and energy, and they're not afraid to put themselves out there. That's the kind of fresh fruit that I value, and I don't want that to spoil. And it felt like that was what it was like the abyss. Just I don't believe this now because I actually think that personally entropy is a myth, the same, or not a myth, but it's not real the same way that I can't make the comparison. I had a good comparison. I remember someone told me, "Oh, that's a beautiful thought. That's actually so true." But now I can't make the comparison. Might include it in the description or the comments. But yeah. I I'm trying to. I think this might be the end of the video, but I completely forgot what I was saying. It was a trip, dude. And like I said, I want to stand for those things. And I was like, dude, like you're not gonna whatever evil force. And again, it could be inside me, it could be whatever. But I do think that there's, there's forces in the universe. It's like what Gandalf said to Frodo. There's evil and good forces who are helping and aiding and whatever. Um, and it's sort of like how the devil and God are kind of working together. Like I kind of believe in that sort of sentiment, you know. Um, but yeah, I was like, I needed to fight for something, dude, and I just, that was the way of like, I guess, facing my ego and, in a way, kind of being my own superhero. Like in my head, I was like, that felt better than being like Superman, even, because it was like that like was my kryptonite. Which is essentially everything that everyone's told me like since the day of my birth, even unconsciously, which is like, dude, don't think too big, don't whatever, dream so whatever, so wacky, don't think that life is some wonderful treat, we're all jaded inside. We're just getting through it, and you better not, shut your fucking lips, dude, if you think that you're gonna start talking about, love and light and shit. Um, so yeah, I guess if there's one more thing I can leave off, it's obviously, you got have dead aim, right? You see a stoned ape, dude. But yeah, people used to compare. They used to say I had my roommates said I had like well eyes, um, in another house. But they said I had like well eyes. This was actually a mental health house that I went to after. Don't worry, I'm fine. I went to after I saw the stoned ape, which caused me to crash out. And anyways, now I think I have kind of a combination of these well like eyes, but also I have the confidence and intention when I want to pierce through someone, I don't even have to use my words. I guess the important thing is you can't even trust what you see. Like, what did I feel in that moment? I felt in my heart that there shouldn't be an enemy. The enemy shouldn't even exist in our mind, in our thoughts. There shouldn't be any thought other than just you. And I wish I guess maybe I'll expand upon that in a future video. Um, I think that's all I've got. Uh, I hope you guys seriously have a wonderful day. Whoever is watching this and whoever is watching the full video, I commend you, and I wish you the best of luck when it comes to the thoughts that trigger you and your own ego that triggers you, whatever form it takes, and the dark forces that you truly are scared of. I think we all eventually have to learn that there's kind of only one truth. And that truth is that God wants us to evolve as people, and He loves every single part of us. Um, and I think we just have to find our own confidence, basically. Because I realized, like, dude, if I can fight that stoned ape, dude, like, there's nobody on this planet that I should be afraid of. Nobody. All right. Well, have a wonderful, happy holidays. And yeah, the sun is out, dude. You think that you're never gonna see the sun, but then here it is, right? So it's like we live to fight another battle. And I'll leave you with this one quote: Shawshank Redemption. Get busy living or get busy dying. All right. Peace.